Vladimir Putin's problem is it's kind of like he's a mafia boss, and his main problem is not even this emotional vengefulness. It's more about he has to be respected, and the reason he has to be respected is that it's again like the mafia boss or like the most brutal guy in the prison yard.
It does seem, I suppose, again, there is no limit to the vindictiveness of the Putin regime.
Well, not only is there no limit, but that's the whole purpose of the Putin regime is to send a message to everybody involved in opposition, which is that not only will they kill Alexei Navalny, not only will they torture his mother about the body, but they will pursue every single person who had anything to do with Navalny in Russia or around the world. And the message is not just to Navalny's people, but it's to everybody else, which is that don't get involved in opposition. Look, it turns out badly for everybody involved, and that's what they're trying to do here. They're just trying to basically terrorize everybody into just not ever peeping a word about Vladimir Putin.
And does that brutal conduct have the required effect? Is there evidence that it does help to suppress dissent and put opponents in fear?
Oh, it works perfectly. I mean, the average person in Russia is terrified. It takes an unbelievably brave person to stand up to Putin. I mean, look at the situation. That 400 people came out and to lay flowers for Alexei Navalny, and they got arrested for laying flowers. And so it works perfectly. I would say that the 99.999% of the Russian population sits in their kitchens, cursing the government, but too afraid to do anything about it because they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to end up dying. They don't want to end up losing their jobs.
But as well as then that let's call it functional brutality, it is also said that Vladimir Putin is a deeply vengeful man. That his hatred of Alexei Navalny really it was real and it ran very deep.
Well, there's no question that he's a vengeful man, and so his problem, Vladimir Putin's problem, is it's kind of like he's a mafia boss. And his main problem is not even this emotional vengefulness. It's more about he has to be respected, and the reason he has to be respected is that it's again like the mafia boss or like the most brutal guy in the prison yard. He's got to be respected because if anybody shows him disrespect, then everybody will show him disrespect, and so anybody like Navalny who disrespected him needs to be punished.
Yeah.
And he needs to be punished in such a way that nobody else will ever show him disrespect. And as long as he has respect and as long as people fear him, then he can continue to run the country.
Now, what about the question? Sorry, do go on.
If he ever loses that respect, then all of a sudden, that's it. He's finished.
Now, what about the question then, Bill, of the punishment of those around Putin? I mean, we were reading Ed Lucas in the Times, a really interesting piece just the other day, arguing that the sanctions that have been imposed, certainly since the invasion of Ukraine, but well before that, they were not truly biting. And Ed Lucas argued that was because the will to make them bite was lacking among the Western powers. Is that also your view?
Well, I mean, the Western powers have spent the last 20 years basically kissing Putin's backside. I mean, particularly in the UK, all the oligarchs, all of their mistresses and girlfriends and wives and children were all, coming to London, going to schools, going to Harley Street, buying mansions, concierges, jewelry, etc. And all of a sudden, 2 years ago, the whole program changed, and it's taking a while for the UK and other countries to kind of figure out how to do this stuff. I would say that we're doing a not bad job, but it's we don't have the muscle memory to do this properly, and so it's going to require a lot more resources being thrown at it, a lot more smart people working on it, and the government taking it seriously. Because Ed Lucas is right that at the end of the day, if these guys can find loopholes, if they can weasel out of these sanctions, then they don't have the desired effect.
Yes. I mean, you'll have seen that the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, the other day argued for further measures. He wanted to see the interest that is accrued on Russian reserves that's held in Western banks, that interest taken away and then channeled towards Ukraine, where it would obviously be most useful. We are talking about billions of dollars worth of interest. What do you make of that? Would that hurt the Kremlin?
Well, so here's a good example. So why are we talking about the interest? Why are we not? So we've frozen more than $300 billion of Russian central bank reserves. Why don't we grab the whole thing?
Mm.
What's this talk about interest? That's like some incremental thing. And for what it's worth, Lord Cameron, Foreign Secretary, is talking about taking all the money. I don't know where we're getting this interest idea from, but that's
Mm.
just that's like a baby step. We need to take bold steps here.
It does seem that Lord Cameron, David Cameron, is something of a, I don't know, an outrider on some of these questions. We've seen it on this issue and on others too. But we know, don't we, that in Europe we see countries and leaders in countries including France and Germany, they are reluctant to take these steps. I wonder why you believe that is, because it is said that they fear Russian retaliation.
Well, it's all very schizophrenic because there was a big conference yesterday, a defense conference, I believe it was in France, and Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, is now talking about the possibility in the future of putting French troops on Ukrainian soil. So on one hand, they're reluctant to grab the 300 billion, and on another hand, they're ready to go to war with Russia.
Yes.
You know, it's all very schizophrenic. It doesn't make clear sense. And my prediction is that just like remember how everybody was hesitating on providing tanks and long range missiles and F-16s at the very beginning of the war, and as the war dragged on and as more people got killed, it became obvious that we needed to do that. And in the end, everybody who was against all those weapons ended up being for them. I think the same thing will happen with this $300 billion.
Mm.
It's just going to take a little time.
Okay, so we will see. And you mentioned just discuss just for a moment the comment of Emmanuel Macron just recently now reported he didn't say there was a plan to send French troops into Ukraine. He said it was a matter which was touched upon at a meeting. He said there was no consensus, but didn't rule it out. But that was enough to raise a lot of eyebrows, wasn't it? The idea of NATO troops, boots on the ground in Ukraine, would be, well, just the ultimate escalation.
Well, I mean, and also, you know, could end up leading to some terrible, catastrophic, war with Russia. But I mean, the point is that if that's not being ruled out, then why are we ruling out confiscating their 300 billion? Which, if we confiscate the 300 billion, we can give that to Ukraine. Ukraine can then fight off the Russians, and we'll never have to see French or British troops on Ukrainian soil.
Yeah. Well, I suspect it has been ruled out and would be ruled out. But this is Emmanuel Macron, I don't know, thinking out loud, maybe not in the most advisable way. Anyway, Bill Browder, thank you so much for joining us with your thoughts on that story.